And happy Mother's Day to all of you. You know, at our church, one of the things we realize is that Mother's Day can be a particularly hard day for some people. For those of you maybe who have lost a mother, and for those of you who that would make this a difficult day. Perhaps you've been here and at some point you've had a child inside of you, and you did everything that mothers did, but for whatever reason, that child is not in your arms today. This is a Mother's Day, and we celebrate you because you held life. And, so what we want to do today is just say a big thanks to all of you who are in this room who are mothers and who have ever nurtured anyone in a mothering capacity. We just want to say thank you because you're special. You make life, and so we give you honor today. And I just want to say a prayer for all of us as we get into our conversation today. Looking forward to his teaching that we're going to do today. But again, thank you for joining us on Mother's Day, and we want to say a prayer. Father, in this room, we know there are all kinds of mothers. There are some who are in the first stages of motherhood. There are some who are halfway through. There are some who just are halfway through and this thing called motherhood. There are others who are on the tail end. Their kids are grown, gone. They're in the grandmother stage, great-grandmother stage. We're so grateful for these ladies, Lord, who nurture us and who we look to. We also understand on days like this, it can be difficult perhaps for someone who once had life in their womb and it was taken from them. I pray comfort for them today, God, and I pray that even in this moment they will know that at one point their body nurtured life and they will embrace that. For those in this room who hope to someday be a mother who have not yet experienced that, I pray, God, that you will make them fertile. I pray that their dreams would come to life. I pray that someday they'll hold life in their arms and be able to be the person, be the mom that they hope to be. For those, Lord, who are struggling with motherhood, because we know mothering can be difficult, I pray that you would give them extra grace today, that you would do that for them. Father, thank you for this day. We celebrate our moms, and we give you praise for this awesome time together in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Well, weren't Fitz and Brad amazing? Was that good? Yeah? So, a couple things. First of all, we want to say to those ladies who played in our game, thank you for playing. We did not expect a tie twice. So we had one. We did anticipate a tie, so we came up with a tiebreaker, and you blew through that. So for both of you who played in that game today, if you want to see Joe call or Aislinn call after service, you already got it. They both got a $100 gift card. So we give you, we thank you for that. And am I getting it? Fellas, I'm getting sign language from the back. All right, so thank you for that. And, today we're actually starting this new teaching series called That's What He Said. And we're going to talk about, for the next 3 weeks, we're going to have this series about what God says about and to ladies. Now, sometimes when we do a series like this, the tendency is for guys to be like, oh, cool, I got 3 weeks off. Let me just tell you right now, no, that's not the case, all right? We want you to lean in, and we want you to engage, because we're going to say some things over the course of the next 3 weeks that will absolutely be helpful for you as well. And then in June, we're going to do a series for guys, and I'm really looking forward to that. We've got some good things lined up. I hope you can be a part of that. But again, sometimes we do a guys series. Ladies are like, oh, I don't have to engage because it's not for me. It's not true. It's for you as well, so lean in. And particularly excited today because I get to teach with my best friend. If you don't know, this is my bride, almost 20 years in August, and super excited about that. Now, here's a little something that we got going on. I've lost my clicker, guys, in the sound booth. I know that never happens, so I'm going to have you walk through the slides with me, and my deepest apologies for that. I'll give you a heads up when that's coming. So, let me just be really forthright and honest with you. In just a minute, we're going to make some introductory comments and tell you a little bit about ourselves. But we've had this series planned for several months, and normally what happens is in preparation for a teaching series, we'll start working a few weeks ahead so we can be best prepared to have this conversation with you on Sundays. And we did that. And we were prepared, and we worked through we had the sermon written out, and it was 8 pages long. We were raring to go, right? And So we got in here last night. Sherri doesn't talk a lot. You're really excited to be up here today, aren't you?
A little nervous.
Right. So we were in here last night. We're running through what we're going to say today. And to be honest with you, it just didn't feel right at all, did it? And there are moments, I don't know, have you ever been like, you're in a moment, you're getting ready to do something, you're like, this doesn't feel right. Have you ever had that moment where like, this just doesn't feel right? And then in that moment, you can make a decision. You're like, we're just going to do it anyways and let the chips fall where they may. Or you can back up and say, okay, let's rethink this. And that's what we did last night. We were here at 10 o'clock last night, and we were trying to make it work, what we had originally planned. We were trying to make it work. And we tried, and we tried, and we tried, and it just, to be honest with you, felt like God just wanted us to go in a different direction. Now, I'll tell you this. I don't hardly ever do this. I rarely do this, to be honest with you. Because I feel like we generally have the heart of God. We generally have a good sense of what He wants to say. And so we prepare well ahead. And probably the last time this has happened is probably, we were talking last night.
It's been a long time.
It's probably 15 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
So we said today's either going to be a colossal train wreck in front of all of you happy people.
Oh, please no.
Right. Or it's going to be something that God specifically wants to say to you. So we went home last night and we said, well, if we're going to fail, let's fail fresh. Let's at least not be exhausted when we fail, right? So we went home, we went to sleep. I got up at 3 o'clock this morning and started working on some stuff. Sherri got up at 4 o'clock. And we actually feel like we do have something to say to you that, we begin to ask ourselves, like, what does God want to say to all of you in this room, but particularly to moms? Like, what does God want to say to you? And we actually feel like we do have something. It's not what we originally planned, but it is. We feel like what God wants to say to you. So lean in. If it's not good, at least the food's good. Can I get a witness? Now, before I do this, here's what I want to do. Where's Kim Buchanan? Kim, come on up here. Come on.
Yes.
She loves when I do this, right? Come on, get up here, Kim. Now, you don't even know why you're clapping, right? So let me just tell you this. Like, if you like the way this place looks, come on, get right up here, Kim. It's because Kim put it together. If you don't like the way this place looks, get out of here, right? Okay? She has spent literally hours. Just extraordinary. In fact, we tell her all the time, this place has your DNA all over it. The design, the colors, the way this place looks and smells most of the time. Through the week, it probably is me and Joe that makes this place smell the way it smells. But, she's extraordinary, and she has done all the decorations, all the tables. And I just want to say, you had an incredible team to help you. But you drove this. This is your vision. And we love Miss Kim. And if you like the way the place looks, this is why. So, Miss Kim, thank you so much. You're the best, all right? Woo-hoo. Very good. Okay, so let's just do a little bit of an introduction. This is Sherri, and we've been married, like I said, 20 years in August. I want to show you a picture. It's on the screen. This is us. That's me like 50 pounds ago. And that's Sherri. Almost, no joke, almost like still wears the same pant size. Amazing, like 20 years later. So proud of you, yeah.
That was more information than they needed.
You should have said that. All right.
Oh, anyway.
So, all right. So 20 years, and still like buddies, best friends, and yeah. So it's very cool. Chance for me to share the best thing in my life besides Jesus, to share the best thing in my life with you. So over those 20 years, we've had a ton of offspring. These are our offspring.
If you look to the screen, our children's names are Lexington. She's the oldest. And then it goes Reagan, Dallas, Ashton, Karis, and Riley. And this was their picture taken at their first day of school this past year. So.
Yep. So we have from 14 to 6.
Yes.
And we have a dog, and our dog is also a girl. No joke. We also have 4 guinea pigs, also all females. A bearded dragon, no joke, also a female.
Yes.
So sometimes people look at us and be like, it's fun to watch people, like, they'll watch us as we get out of our truck, and they'll see, like, the doors open, and kids just keep, like, piling out. It's insane. And they look at us, and they'll say stupid things. They're like, you guys must really love kids, huh? And the answer is yes, but I really love her. So,
Seriously.
so anyways. She actually told me not to say that, so we'll see how that works. So, what we want to talk a little bit this morning just about seasons in life, because there was a point in our life where we're like married 5 years, and people are like, "Oh, you're just rookies," and we're like, "When do we actually ever get to a point where we're done being rookies, right?" Right. And so now we're 20 years, and so we've been through a few things, right? Yes. 6 kids, lived in multiple states, and so we've been through seasons in our life, and so I felt as we talked and we began to pray about God, what, we had this thing planned that we're going to talk about, and it's just not working. What do you want to say to the men and women who are in this room today? And we really just felt like, let's have a conversation about seasons in life. And we're actually getting ready to go into a new season here in just about 2 weeks, right?
Right.
And that is?
School is out for the kids. And that kind of turns our world upside down a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a hair.
Is anybody excited about kids out, school's out? Yeah. Everybody's got hands up are teachers. What is wrong, right? All the parents are like, okay, let's do a 2-week thing and then we're done again, right?
Now, I love my kids at home. Don't get that. But it's just like school fills their day, so when they get home, mom's got to fill that day. So it gets a little bit overwhelming.
Right. And the truth is that it does. All the kids, especially when you got 6, all the kids in the house, that changes the dynamic of the house extraordinarily. Because our kids have friends.
Yes.
Right. So the other day, this is no joke. We're sitting on the couch. Remember that?
Yes.
When we looked upstairs.
Yeah. We were actually trying to have a little downtime watching a movie, and all of a sudden I saw lining almost every stair of every step of our stairs was a child. And there were, I think, 12 or 13.
14 kids came from our upstairs.
I was like, oh my word, where did you all come from?
So this is what summertime looks like at our house. So we're getting ready to go, and you are too. We're getting ready to go through into this new season. And when school changes, things change a lot in our home. Bedtimes change. Our exercise time, the time we go to the gym, that changes. Coin and calendar, when we do our coin and calendar meeting, that changes. It's hard to be digging deep into an Excel spreadsheet when you got 12 crazy people running around your house, And the time we travel changes. I think was it last year? You were spending an average of 4 hours a day on the road. No joke, 4 hours a day between picking kids up and taking them to their various events, 4 hours a day. So, that changes. That's a good thing.
Yes.
Right? Especially with an expedition. Gas is insane, right?
Yes.
But as we were thinking about this, we're this is like life, right? Life has seasons. And, for parents, we have seasons when it comes to there's summer, and that feels and looks like one thing, and then there's fall when the kids go back to school, that feels and looks like something else. But if you think about it, life in general has seasons. There's the season of when you're single, and then you get married. That's a new season, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And then you have kids, and that's a whole new season. And sometimes, your kids, Sherri and I, we talked about this. We're just about the time you figure out how to be a perfect parent,
they get a birthday.
Your kids have a birthday. And everything changes. There's so much difference between an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old. Good God, what happens in that space? Mm-hmm. Some of you are I don't know. You will. It's amazing. But you figure everything out, and then a new season happens, and things begin to change and transition in life. And so, when I read through the Gospels, and particularly the Gospel of John, which is one of the biographies of Jesus, written by his best friend, John talks, he refers to a conversation that Jesus had at least 6 times throughout his Gospel, where Jesus said, hey, this is not the right time for this activity. Well, this is not the right time for me to go to that city. This is not the right time for me to be involved in this particular set of circumstances. Jesus often would say, this is not the right time. This is not the right time. But then later towards the end of his gospel, for instance, in chapter 12, verse 23, Jesus said, now the time has come for the Son of Man to enter into his glory. In other words, it's the season now. It's time for me. It wasn't time for me to participate in these activities. Now it is time. In John chapter 13, verse 1, John writes this: before the Passover celebration, Jesus knew his hour had come to leave this world and return to his Father. So in other words, it's time. It wasn't time, but it is time. And so what we want to talk to you a little bit and just solicit some feedback. In fact, at the end of our talk today, we're just going to kick it open for a little bit of Q&A. And we'll do our best to field these questions just as we talk about how we navigate transitions in life with the help of God. How does that happen well? And we'll throw our number up on the screen, and you can text in some questions, and we'll just field a couple of questions. And then we're going to go, because I'm going to drive to Spartanburg and have lunch with my mom today for Happy Mother's Day, okay? So the question is, how do we navigate these various seasons of life without losing it, right? How do we navigate these seasons without just falling apart? I mean, I know for us, like we'll get a rhythm, we'll figure out how to do life when the kids are in school, and then they get out of school and everything changes. You know,
Yes.
like when do we go exercise? When do we do our coin and calendar? When do we do shopping? What time do we get? I mean, all this stuff changes. And that's just a small illustration. There's bigger seasons of life as well. And the question is, how do we successfully navigate life changes without falling apart? And so we have 4 ideas that we want to share with you that we think are biblical and helpful for navigating life-changing transitions. So the first one is this. It's on the screen. Babe, you want to introduce this to us?
I think first off, we identify load-bearing walls.
Right. So if you look at load-bearing walls, how many people know what a load-bearing wall is? Right. So I will show you what a load-bearing wall is. Well, let me show you what it's not. First of all, this wall behind us is not a load-bearing wall. In other words, if we knocked this wall down right now, nothing would really happen, right? I mean, there would be a gap, it would be a little ugly, but the building would stay. If we knocked that wall down, y'all are dead, right? And the reason is because that is a load-bearing wall. The whole building rests on that wall and on that wall. So these walls right here cannot be taken down. They are holding up the building. They're holding up this wall is not. And so what we found in our life, I'm going to try to sit down. All right. What we found in our life is that there are things in your life, there are practices, there are habits, there are disciplines in your life that will change when your seasons change. But there are some habits and some disciplines in your life that if you take them out, no matter what season you're in, if you take them out, your life is going to fall apart. So, for instance, let's share the 4 that we've found, 4 load-bearing walls that have been absolutely critical for us in 20 years of marriage, 6 kids, multiple moves throughout our lifetime. These are 4 things that we have found that absolutely have to remain in place. Because if we knock these things out, the whole building falls over. And listen, let me just tell you this. This is our commitment. To be married till one of us dies.
Yes.
And hopefully it's not at the hands of the other, right? Right. Like, we just agreed when we first got married, like, we're never going to use the D word,
Yeah.
right? And divorce, okay? Because the assumption is we can work through anything. And I'm telling you
Right.
that these 4 practices have been huge. So the first one is this, and they're not going to be on the screen. If you want to take these notes, you can do that too. But the first practice that we found is absolutely non-negotiable is we always have to have a date. Always date.
Every week.
Every single week. Now, let me just drill into this. This is why this is important.
And we've done this over 20 years.
Over 20 years, right?
Every week.
Every week. Now, let me tell you why it's important. And jump in here anytime, babe. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times when people have kids, so I'm just going to talk to people with kids right now. A lot of times when people have kids, their attention moves from this. I'm looking at you right now, gorgeous. Right? From this to this. Mm-hmm. And these little kids, they consume all of your energy. Can I get a witness?
Yes.
Yeah, they do. Y'all are digging this, aren't you? This is the right thing. They consume all, and you know what happens is, this is where a lot of divorces happen. When these things grow and ultimately at some point leave, that's God's plan, right? Leave. when they go away, well, we love our kids. I'm having a little fun, but I do want them to go away someday. Okay. When they go away, if you haven't paid attention to this, you're not going to know what to do with this, right? And so we found that this is something that 100% has to be a non-negotiable. Now, tell us a little bit how it's changed throughout our life.
Well, I was going to say also, I feel like when you don't date that person, the communication tends to break down. And one of the greatest things that you can do in your marriage is to communicate. Because when that falls apart, you just start spiraling downhill. You start heading in a downward way. So I think when I have to sit across from him for an hour every week, it just has to happen. You communicate. Like, it comes out because you say, what's wrong? I'm sitting here. Or he sits there, and you have that communication. To me, that is so important, and that date keeps that communication alive.
So, like for us, let's just talk about seasons. When we had no kids, our date was every Friday night, and we would eat steak.
We would party.
So it'd be like $40 or $50 every week on a date, right? We'd eat a nice steak at a steakhouse, and we'd get home, and the rest is none of your business, right? That's where it got started, right? I guess. So anyways, no kids. And then we started having kids. And now, what do we do for a date?
So now we decide to get up Saturday mornings really early. Our kids are now at a spot where we can leave them at home. And we head to Starbucks, and we take an hour, and we take $10.
Yeah,
and we go have fun. We play Uno. We just enjoy a cup of coffee. Sometimes we get an oatmeal, but it's just a little bit of money, but it's that communication, that fun time together, which makes a big, big difference.
It's a load-bearing wall. It has to be a part of your life if you're in a marriage relationship, regardless of what season you're in. The date has to be there, because if it's not, you're going to fall apart. You really will. We've been in this 20 years, and I've seen enough now to realize people who don't date don't last. You've got to do this. That's why you fell in love. You got to keep doing that. And it will change from a Friday night $50 steak to a Saturday morning we're playing Uno, drinking a cup of Starbucks coffee.
And that's what we're doing now. We have done some yard sailing in the past. It's just the idea of you setting some time apart and communicating.
Your mic is driving me nuts.
Sorry.
Is there any way we can fix that? Pull it down?
Like that?
Can y'all still hear her? Okay. So let's just move to so let me just tell you this. And this is what I want to say. It's changed, but it's always been. Mm-hmm. It's changed, but it's always been. So the date has changed, but it's always. Another load-bearing wall is this: coin and calendar. Like every single week, sitting down and doing a business meeting, right? And in that we look at our money, we look at our calendar. It used to be Friday, then it was Sunday, then it was Monday. We've done it at home. We've done it at Panera. We used to do it on legal pads. Now we do it on an Excel spreadsheet. So it's changed, but it still remains, right? In different seasons, it happens in different times and different days, but it's a load-bearing wall. We have to keep this in our relationship. A third exercise or a third wall that we've realized it's got to be in place or you're going to fall apart is spiritual exercise. All right? Like you got to date, you got to pay attention to the business side of your relationship, but spiritual exercise, like nurturing your relationship with God. When I don't nurture my relationship with God, I tend to be a bit of a knucklehead. Right? You don't say amen. But so let's just talk a little bit, because honestly, remember when we first got started, when we first met, we were in Bible college, all right? I would literally pray for 2 hours a day, no joke. Because what was it do? You're in a Bible college, you're surrounded by Bible people, and so what do? You do Bible things, you go pray, right? And so I would pray an hour in the morning, oftentimes I'd pray an hour at night, and then I got into real life. And I began to think, maybe I'm not a Christian because I don't pray 2 hours a day. No joke. And I've struggled with guilt for that for a lot of years. It's probably been the last 10 years that I realized when I was in college, I had no obligations, I had no responsibilities, I had no kids, I had no wife. I had nothing to do but pass tests and pray. Different phase of life, right? So it looks different now. Now the day looks different. Still pray, just looks different. It's a spiritual exercise. It's a wall that's got to be a part of it. So tell us a little bit about how you've navigated from single to married to 6 kids.
So I tended to be more of a night person. So I would have, when I was single, I did my nighttime devotions, and I would do that after I got off of work in the evening, typically 9 o'clock at night. I had my God time. And then I got married, and I continued that God time at that point. But when it really changed was when I had my children. And I found that I was up every 2 or 3 hours through the night, and realized like when it comes 9 o'clock at night, I was exhausted, was not ready to have God time. And quite frankly, the more that my children grew, I realized like that's important to me, but I got to find when do I have that God time? So as moms, we're just busy. We continually, when you've got little ones and you're a stay-at-home mom or you're heading off to work, you've got things pulling at you in every direction. When do you find that time to spend with God? So for me, like even at this current moment, I love audio. I'll just tell you, like I pull up the Bible on audio. If I don't have a moment where I'm rested, that I put that on and I'll be folding laundry, I just listened recently to the book of Esther. And I mean, it's a great, you can get an off of you version, and reads the Bible to you live. So I encourage you, like if you are not getting that God Bible time, pull that out on the way to work, listen to it. And another perfect time for me to have God time is when I'm in the shower. You got kids pulling at you all day long. I mean, literally, one leaves, another walks in. I've just got them all the time. And I found, like, I really have got to talk to God. Like, I have to have my heartbeat with him. And the only place at this point, for the most part, is getting better is when I'm in the shower. And
Unless
so, you
I'm
know
home.
what? For a half hour, I have my God time. I pray to God. Sometimes I'm in there singing. Sometimes I'm in there crying. Sometimes I'm in there, oh, my God, you need to help me, right? But I think you find that spot in your phase of life. You cannot let it disappear because God wants to be intimate with you. He wants to know you. He wants to walk with you. He wants to show you things. And if you don't spend time with him, you don't get that.
Right.
So I encourage you, like you're all at different phases of life, but be creative. Find that spot. Maybe it's a mentor that you need to meet with and read the Bible together. Or, we're all at different phases, but grab a hold of that because your relationship with Jesus is so important. It's really one of those load-bearing walls.
It is a load-bearing wall. If it's not a part of your life, I promise your life will it will weaken. It's got to be a part of your life, and it will look different at different phases in your life, and that's okay. And the fourth load-bearing wall, we'll just touch on this quickly, is physical exercise. Serious, guys. If you're not caring for your body, you're going to be tired. You're not going to feel good. You're not going to be as good as you can be in terms of your relationship with God, your kids, your spouse, even at work. If you're not caring for your body, it's serious. Like, think about this. When you're tired, can you pray well? I mean, how many of you have ever gone to pray and fallen asleep? I have. I used to I don't know, did you guys ever do this, kneel when you pray? Did anybody ever do that? Kneel? I used to kneel when I pray. I don't anymore because I fall asleep. And then my legs fall asleep. It's weird. My head, I'm drooling, and it's just crazy. So now I realize I got to pray differently now, but still making time and space for that physical exercise so that I can be spiritually alert, so I can be relationally alert, so I can be, it's so important. Now, Sherri said something, we were talking about this. And I think, I want to remind you of this line, and she said, exercise, we used to do it at home, and then there was the gym, and then we would do it together, and then we would do it apart. She said, there was a time when everything was done.
Yes. My house could be, before I had children, I could have the carpet lines great. Ladies, you like those all in order and nice and neat. Dust is done. Dishes are in the cabinets. The laundry's folded, and you sit down and you go, it's all done. And now you can exercise, you can go for that jog, or it's all done. So you have that time. But when you have kids, that time disappears, man. That carpet line is gone, and you always feel the stress of, oh my goodness, there's another load of laundry. So it's not like you can sit back you have to pick your season of life and say, okay, this is important, and I can't do this from home anymore because I have to do this on my way home from work because I'm in that season of life. I've got things going on. My tendency is if I'm at home, I want to fix up my house. You know, I want to do a load of laundry, or I want to, I don't know, do dishes, whatever, fix a meal.
Hey.
But if I'm out, like I found I drop my kids off from school right now, I head right to the gym. And that gives me my time of exercise. So you've got to figure out your season of life, and it's just important that you nurture that.
Yeah, so the first thing we'd say to help successfully navigate through seasons of life is to identify those load-bearing walls and make sure they stay a part of your life. For us, we found the 4, and I think I could make a pretty good case that those 4 walls are true for everyone: dates, coin and calendar, spiritual exercise, and physical exercise. The next slide, we'll put this up there, is when you're making seasonal changes, realize that some things just won't fit. Like some things that used to be a part of your life in a previous season just won't work in this season. It's like trying to wear, a parka and sweatpants in the summer. It worked in the winter. It won't work in the summer. It's a new season. So Sherri likes to move stuff around.
Yeah, so I was kind of bored. My house kind of looked fall-y, right? And spring was coming, and I'm like, yay, I'm so excited. You know, I was out shopping. Where was I?
Always.
Was I at Ollie's? No, I was at Home Depot.
Right.
Woohoo! And I saw this gorgeous new area carpet,
Right.
area rug, and I was like, oh, that would look great in our house. So I said, you know what? Let's take a little bit extra of that money we have saved, and let's grab that. So I
Because
get
it was an emergency, so it came from the emergency fund, right?
No.
Right.
So anyway, I got this carpet, and I was so excited to get it home, and I laid it on the floor, and I put my couch up to it, and I was like, oh, that doesn't look so nice. But of course, the carpet was not leaving, the couch was. And so, because I was like, I love the carpet, gave it just this new, fresh touch. So I said, hey, I have an idea, because Paul looked at me, he's like, we're not getting a new sofa. And I was like, okay. So I said, I had an idea, let's go. We have a family room upstairs, and there's a sofa up there. And I'm like, you know what? I bet that sofa upstairs would look better down here, and that sofa down here would look better upstairs. So we went ahead and did that and flipped it around. And it looked great. The sofa, now that's downstairs, actually works better for our family, and it looks really nice, and I'm really happy. But if you flip to the next slide, you can see here what happened. We could not, for the life of us, get that sofa.
We tore up the ceiling. Oh. We tore up the wall. We removed the light fixture. We did everything we tore up the door frame. And the couch never did fit in the playroom. We ended up bringing it back downstairs. It's in our garage if you're interested in it, as a matter of fact.
Soon to be at Goodwill.
Right. And what we realized is, it fit in the living room, but it doesn't fit upstairs. And we tried and tried and tried. We messed things up trying to get it to fit.
Right.
As we were talking about this, we're like, we do this in seasons of our life. Things that fit in this season of life, and we enjoyed it, and we liked it, and we want to take it with us to this season of life. We work so doggone hard to make it fit, but sometimes it's just important to know that some things that were right in this season are not right in this season, and if you try to force it, you're going to wreck things. You're going to wreck things. Let me just give you some examples. When we were first married, we had no kids. We took 2 vacations a year. We took one to a city. We would spend a week exploring a city, and we took one to the beach. We don't do that anymore with 8 people. Yeah. Dave Ramsey would frown on that, and I think Jesus probably would too. You do other things with that money. Movies. We used to go to movies all the time. For our family to go to a movie now costs $100. It worked in that season. It doesn't work in this season. Mm-hmm. Right? Long morning devotions with each other. We used to, every morning we'd get up, we'd sit on the back porch, we'd have a nice cup of coffee, and we'd read our Bible together, we'd talk about it, and that worked. Now it doesn't, because if we try to sleep in a little bit, we've got 8 people in our room, and we don't know who the other 2 are, right?
Yeah.
Another big thing that used to work in this season of life, we used to be able to spend a lot more time with friends. Mm-hmm. And now we have 6 kids, and we don't get to spend as much time with friends anymore because we have to invest in our children. That's a choice that we make. It worked in this season. It doesn't work in this season. Someday our kids will be gone and we'll hang out with our friends more. But what we've realized is if I keep trying to jam things from this season into this season, it's going to ruin something. And I see a lot, listen, let's just be straightforward. I see a lot of relationships being injured because people are trying to make things from this season fit into this season. And I just want to say to you, if you're going to make it work and you're going to make it last, you're going to have to let some things go. Right? Mm-hmm. We realize this every season, at the end of every season, we usually get rid of some things. Yeah. Right? We've usually worn out a pair of snow boots. Well, not here so much, I guess, but...
Yeah.
You know, at the end of every season, you wear some things out, and you can keep that stuff, and you'll just have boxes full of old stuff at your house, or you can get rid of it at the end of every season. Guys, this is a really, really important lesson. Sometimes things that worked in this season won't work in this season, and it's okay to let it go. Third lesson. As you're moving from season to season, what we found something that's really important is this. We'll put it on the slides. Keep working on what people cannot see. Mm-hmm. So I'm exploring this book recently. I've read it probably 3 or 4 times over the last 20 years. It's called Ordering Your Private World, and it's a great book. Gordon MacDonald wrote it. And he talks about the fact that we have 2 worlds. We have a public world and we have a private world. And let me show you what public world looks like. It looks like Facebook and Instagram. It looks like my front lawn. It looks like everything that you can see about me. That's my public world. What you can't see is my heart. And what I realize is that it's really easy to maintenance my public image and find that my inner world is absolutely crumbling. I just read a story this week from the Hollywood Reporter, Johnny Depp. This is crazy. He works with a management company who manages, just manages him and all of his income. And they've been together, they were really creative when they named themselves. The name of the company that manages him is called The Management Group, okay? Thought that one through really well. But they've been with him for 13 years. This is an article in the Hollywood Reporter, just read it this week. They said in 13 years, he's earned more than $650 million. That's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Right? And here's the scoop. Here's why they're having this conversation with Depp, and this is what's going on right now. They had to have a conversation with him right now that says, you don't have enough money to cover your monthly obligations. You've got to start selling stuff. That's crazy, right? And so, so you look at this is amazing. He's a beautiful person. He's talented. He's got all this stuff going on, but inside, what is going on? What is going on financially? And you look at a lot of pretty people, a lot of things going right, and then you kind of get into it, struggling with darkness, depression, addiction, all the relationships that can't last, that aren't working. The outside looks great, the inside is falling apart. The outside looks great, but you look at the checkbook. You realize, man, you got a great car and a great house, but you don't have anything inside. If you lose your job, you're done, right? It's crazy. So paying attention to on the inside, and just a couple things that we would just say. I think one would, as you're moving from season to season in life, would be to simply be honest with yourself. Don't lie. If you're struggling with guilt, say it. If you're struggling with fear, say it. If you're depressed, say it. Be honest with yourself. And then I would just say, confess this to others. Find a group of people, a handful of trusted friends, that as you're navigating from one season to the next, you can actually begin to say, hey, here's the thing I'm working through.
And I know for moms, this is a big thing, because we tend to want to do it all ourselves. We want to do it ourselves, We don't want to share those things. If our house is a mess, or if we're out of control, we're not very organized. We kind of want to put up this persona, and moms, we gotta drop that.
Be honest.
Yeah, you gotta let it go, and then you gotta grab a group of friends around you, and this is who you are. This is who God made you to be. Embrace that, and get those friends can help you. Grab a hold of them. Let them speak into your life. It will grow you. It will build character within you. Find those moms. And if you're not a mom, grab a hold of a girlfriend. Same thing.
Right. So honestly, like just a real practical application, like even in this room right now, there are people in this room who are going through something similar to what you're going through. I'd bet $1. So why not reach out to someone and say, hey, can I meet you at Chick-fil-A and let's let our kids play and we'll eat a lunch together, right? Or just be intentional about making a connection in an effort to keep working on the inside, those things that people can't see. So I think sometimes that we have a tendency to spend more time updating our Facebook status than we spend updating ourselves. It's like the thing that people see, that's going to go away. But the thing on the inside, your capacity for love, your capacity to forgive, your capacity for patience, all of those things on the inside. As a personal trainer, I always used to tell my clients, hey, listen, like someday, like I would tell the young guys, the young athletes, I would say, I'm going to edit what I said because we're right. I would say if you have abs and you're a butt, no one cares about your abs, right? Yeah. And I would say to ladies, this is going to be really forthright. This is what I would say to them. If like, listen, you're working to build this beautiful body, and that's a great thing, but someday things are going to sag and things are going to droop, right? And if that's all you have, right? Is that too much? Is that too much? All right.
It's true.
The key is what's on the inside. Because someday all that stuff is going to change. Your abs are going to go away, and you're going to have a pot belly someday, right? Someday that thing that you worked so hard to build up on the outside is going to go away. And if that's all you have. So I just want to say, as you're and by the way, there's nothing wrong with working for that and working to look beautiful. It's a wonderful thing, and you should do that. But if that's all you have, when you move into the next season, you're going to be in trouble. I mean, the goal is to go into the next season better. In other words, to look back and say, I learned some things in the last season of my life that I can take with me into this new season of my life, and I'll be better because I've worked on the things that people can't see. The last thing I want to say to you is this. Everything is on screen. Everything is preparing you for something. Like everything you go through is preparing you for something else. There's nothing is wasted. Now you can waste it. You can waste these experiences that you're having. You can waste the people that you're meeting. You can waste all of this. But the truth is, everything is preparing you for something else. So there's a couple verses here that I think are instructive for us. You want to read the first one, babe?
Is it on? Yeah, on the slide. Okay. We were crushed and overwhelmed. Did I miss what we're doing? Okay, I'm sorry. I am certain that God, who began a good work within you, will continue his work until it is finally finished on the day when Christ Jesus returns.
Right. So there's things that are happening in your life right now that God is actually using. In this season, he's using these things to build you up, to make you someone. Because this is not, I think we said this a couple weeks ago in our Live Bold series. You know, some people are just like, hey, this is who I am. And I just want to say, really? You're going to settle for this? Like iPhone updates itself all the time, doesn't it? Isn't that annoying? Like all these updates, update. If iPhone can update, you can update. And what we find is that in various seasons of our life, God allows things to happen to us to update us for the next season of the life. Right. And Paul's confidence was, St. Paul in Philippians 1:6 was, I'm confident that whatever God is doing, he's going to finish it. I'm in a season of life right now. It's tough. It's busy. Sometimes I cry. Sometimes I don't understand. But I know God is doing something. This is part of the update for the next season. And then there's a great conversation that St. Paul has in 2 Corinthians chapter 1. And we want to share this, and we're going to kind of wrap things up. And if you have any questions, you can text them in, and then I'll go hug Mom and crash Cracker Barrel. Does that sound good? All right, okay. St. Paul writes to his friends, he said, this is on the screen, God is our merciful Father and the source of all comfort. So you're going to go through seasons of life where things get kind of crazy. You're going to need some resources. And Paul says, I found that God is that resource. And then he said this, he comforts us in all of our troubles so that we can comfort others. When they are troubled, we'll be able to give them the same comfort God has given us. In other words, sometimes you go through things in a season of life and it's just devastating and it's hard and you're broken and you reach out to God and he gives you something, and the reason he's allowed you to go through that is so that he can give you something so that in the next season of your life you can share that something with someone who's going through something similar. I see it all the time, right? a lot of times, listen, this is just true. A lot of moms who have had miscarriages have taken that disaster, this heartbreaking situation, and God has offered them comfort. And in the next season of their life, when there's another young mom who's going through the same thing, they're able to speak words of comfort. I can't speak to a mother who's miscarried. I've not done that. But I know lots of moms who God has given comfort during that time, who can speak with passion and compassion and empathy. Mm-hmm. Because of the season that they were in, God comforted them, and they were able to pass it on. Then Paul says this. He says, I want you guys to know something. This is what he says. We were crushed and overwhelmed beyond our ability to endure. We thought we'd never live through it. In fact, we expected to die. Simple question. You don't even need to put your hand up on this. Don't do that. Have you ever been in that season where you're like, I literally think I'm going to die here. I don't think I can make it through this season. Overwhelmed. Young parents go through this a lot, don't we? Mm-hmm. Right? Just tired. Remember when your kid wouldn't sleep through the night? You're like, oh, God, please. Remember that? You made it. Good for you, right? They're just seasons where you're like, I don't think we're going to live through this. And Paul said, his situation was different, but he said, I was in a season where I didn't think I was going to make it through it. He said, I thought I was going to die. Look at this. This is key. Next slide. But as a result of being overwhelmed by these circumstances, we stopped relying on ourselves and learned to rely only on God who raises the dead. In other words, I came to this point, Paul says, where even if I die, like somehow God is going to make it work. Like even if I just laid on the ground and just give up, God is going to make it work. I stopped trying to make it myself, and I reached out to him, and I found something. And Paul said, finally on this, next slide, and he did rescue us from mortal danger, and he will rescue us again. We've placed our confidence in him, and he will continue to rescue us. Here's essentially what Paul's going to learn, and then you can jump in if you want here anytime, babe. But he essentially said, in every season, there's something to be learned. Everything is preparing me for something. I went through seasons that were so unbelievably difficult. But what I discovered in there is that God was able to help me. And now I'm in the next season of my life, and I know something about God. And I know something about myself. I can deal with some really hard stuff because I learned that in the previous season. And so if we begin to look at the various seasons of our life and we embrace this idea, everything is preparing me for something. This isn't the end of the road. The thing that you're going through right now, it's not the end of the road. This is like leg day. Anybody like leg day? There's like probably two people in here that like, Jennifer Dean, you like leg day, don't you? I know you like leg day. Like two people that like leg day. Nobody likes leg day. It's terrible, but we all should do leg day. Can I get a witness?
Yes.
You know what we call people who don't do legs at the gym? We call them light bulbs. Huge top, little bottom. You need to do leg day. The point is this. All right. The point is this. If you don't ever go through anything hard, you're never going to be strong.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
If you don't ever go through something that just almost feels like it's absolutely going to destroy you, you're not going to be strong. And Paul said, I'm going through some really hard times, but I found out that when I reach out to God, he gives me something that enables me to make it through this season, and next season I know something. I can do this. I can be strengthened by God when I reach out. And the reason I know this is because we've done it before in the previous season. And so these would be the four things that we would say. As you're moving from season to season, I mean, and honestly, some of you in this room are better qualified to have this conversation than we are. You've been married 50 years, right? Barb and Jack, right? 57, you're amazing, right? And Jim and Terry, how long have you guys? 49? You're rookies, right? I don't, like Stacy Jones, how long have you been married? You're an old guy. I'm just kidding. Sorry about that. But some of you in this room are more, like you could tell even more stories than we could, but all I'm saying is over the course of 20 years, we've learned some things about making transitions, and these are four things that we say, we know these are true, right?
Yeah.
And they work. So I just want to really encourage you to lean into this, all right? So let's stop. And babe, do you have anything else you want to say? No? Okay. So a couple questions here. I'm going to put our number on the screen, and you can text in questions. So here's the truth. I always tell Joe Call, text me a question right away so that I don't sit up there looking stupid if nobody texts me questions. All right, so thank you, Joe Call, for your question. And someone else has already texted a question, so we won't feel silly, right? All right. I'm not going to tell you which one Joe Call's question is, though, right? All right. Well, you guys would do that too, right? Like, what if you're sitting up here and no one texts you a question? That'd be weird. Okay. So, here's one question. Wow, this was a great one. What is the most